At the high school I graduated from, Mill Springs Academy, my principal was very passionate about teaching us about Native American cultures, particularly about the Lakota, and she wanted to show us what their lives have been like in the past and what their lives are like now. And so she managed to form a connection with Little Wound High School on Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota. This is one of the poorest areas of the country. We did Skype calls with the students there, and we set up an exchange program where 5 students from my school, including me, got to go to South Dakota and stay on Pine Ridge Reservation. We stayed at a lodge on the reservation and got to go to school with some of the students and experience their culture. During one of our first days in South Dakota, the first thing that struck me was how empty everything was. Like, when we got off the plane and we were driving in a van that we rented, and I was looking out the window, I was just surprised how I could see the horizon while we were driving, and there was just grass and plains and some horses. Obviously, this is what I first noticed, but there were, of course, buildings and houses and everything like that, just very spread out, and we could drive for a long time and just see plains. At first, this was a little sad for me because it was so empty, but I just wasn't used to it. After a little while, I was able to really appreciate the beauty of the land. One of the first days, we met up with a teacher at Little Wound High School and her 2 young kids, and they were going to take us to the site where the massacre of Wounded Knee had happened and show us around. Traveling in the van, and we pulled over near the spot where we would walk to where the massacre had happened. And we were still bundled up because it was freezing. There were pieces of trash and things scattered in the grass and the plains in the area where we parked, but it was kind of cool looking. There was a lot of random objects like a bike seat, and it looked like there had been a stuffed animal that was ripped apart, like a teddy bear, and the head was over there and a limb over there. So we were kind of joking around because it looked like someone had murdered a teddy bear and scattered the remains there. We arrived at a large sign with information about the massacre of Wounded Knee, and dogs ran up to us who were friendly. Then the teacher from Little Wound High School led us to the more exact area where the massacre had occurred and told us the story of what happened. On the morning of December 29th, 1890, the U.S. 7th Cavalry came to take the weapons of the Lakota and remove them from that area. Accounts vary of what started the massacre, but one account is that Black Coyote, who was a deaf Lakota man, didn't understand what was happening and refused to give up his rifle. And when it went off in a struggle between him and a soldier, the army started shooting. By the end of the massacre, estimates say around 300 men, women, and children were killed. Many of these people tried to run away and seek shelter in a ravine nearby, but were hunted down and killed. The teacher showed us where this ravine is. It was intense standing in the site where that happened, and we could tell that this was recent history for them, and they still felt this deeply. The teacher showed us some berries that we could eat, and we gathered sage, which smelled nice. Something else that we saw all around our trip at the reservation was prayer bundles, which are like colorful fabric, and people put sage or other things, usually plant, in the bundle and tie it in places that are special for them, like sacred to them. We saw this around the fence at the memorial for the massacre at Wounded Knee, and on trees around the base of Devil's Tower when we hiked around there. In a lot of the Lakota decorations and artwork, we saw circles that were divided into 4 sections with the colors red, white, black, and yellow. This is because this signifies the 4 directions, which symbolize different things for the Lakota when they pray. I'm very grateful to have been able to experience this trip. I learned a lot, and it was a wonderful experience.